everybody. Welcome back to my book channel. Today we're talking about my physical TBR, and I do pride myself actually on the amount of books that I keep on my physical TBR. I try really hard not to go out and buy like a million books so I can actually like stay on top of what I have on my bookshelf. Plus, it's really good for the budget. But I will say, in the last I don't know, 2, 3 months, it's gotten a little bit out of hand for even me. So today I have 14 books to talk about, which again for me is pretty high. I know a lot of booktubers have like 100 or more books on their physical TBR. That's just not really how I do things, but these, because I own them, I really do want to read them. So let's talk about it, and I'm so excited. Okay, so the first two books that I have on my physical TBR, I'm actually going to put them together. And those two books are David Copperfield by Charles Dickens and Demon Copperhead by Barbara Kingsolver. This book is a relatively new release, and the Goodreads ratings on it are exceptionally high. And I was actually gifted this book from my boyfriend's mom, and I've been wanting to read it, but the caveat is it's based on David Copperfield by Charles Dickens. And I'm not like a huge classics girl, but I do try to read a few every single year just because I feel like it's good for your brain. So I've had this for a few months now, and my barrier has been that I haven't read this. But then the last time that I was visiting my boyfriend's family, his mom gave me this book to read. So now my whole issue should be resolved. But yeah, I do want to get to both of these books, and I would be lying if I said I wasn't a little bit intimidated by them. And also, I have no idea what they're about, but I do want to read them. So here we are. We're just going to put them down there. Slowly, this stack is going to disappear. The next two books actually also go together. I probably should have spaced these out a little bit more, but the next two books that go on my physical TBR are, it's the ACOTAR series. Anyone who's been on my channel for a little while knows that I've been working my way through this series. I'm actually like halfway through A Court of Wings and Ruin right now, and I'm really on a time crunch with that one because I'm traveling again, and I really don't want to have to bring that giant book with me. I think it'd be great if I could finish that and then just bring A Court of Frost and Starlight. But this series is a really fun like fantasy romance series. This is the fourth book. I think technically it's a novella. And then this is the fifth book in the series, but I believe it's around a different character than the first few books in the series. I'll be completely honest, I also don't know that much about these books because I'm really trying not to spoil the entire series for myself. So I know that I want to read them. I haven't yet. I'm working on it. These books are giant. Okay, the next book on my physical TBR, I haven't talked about too much on this channel, and that is It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. I've read Confess by Colleen Hoover and November 9th by Colleen Hoover, and I really enjoyed both of those books. Confess especially, oh my God, that book was so good. And I know that this is like her most famous book, maybe, potentially. And I also know that a movie is coming out soon, and apparently it's controversial who they chose to be. I think her name is Lily. Yeah, who they chose to like star in it as Lily. And I really want to be a part of this like saga online. Like I want to know A, what the hype is about this book, and also B, what the tea is about the whole like movie situation. So yeah, I also know though that this is a little bit heavy. I'm pretty sure it's about relationship abuse and a girl who like starts out in a relationship that seems fine, but then it's not, I believe. So I'm trying to time this one right, but I do think I'll fly through this pretty quickly. I tend to do that with her books. But yeah, It Ends With Us, Colleen Hoover, really like her other books that I've read. Definitely want to get to this one. The next book is, I don't know, it's very on brand for me. I guess what's surprising is that I haven't read it yet, and that is The Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard. I'm pretty sure this book was huge when I was in middle school, and for some reason, I think it's like the only big series that I missed. Like I read so many of the like Hunger Games, Divergent, Harry Potter, like all those big series that were going around back then, but I never actually got to this book. And I think probably like a year or two ago now, I found this in a little free library and picked it up. And because it's a series, I haven't started it yet. I have this horrible habit of not finishing series. I'm really trying to break that this year, actually. There's a few series I want to like go back and reread so I can finish them, but I digress. This book I really do want to read. And I know that this is a fantasy book, and I think the basic premise is that people have different colors of blood. So I think some people have red blood and some people have silver blood, and the people with red blood have to serve the like elite silver blood people or something like that. Anyway, I don't know too much about this. I do know that it's a series. I know that a lot of people love it. So I do eventually want to get to this. It seems really good and also like a pretty breezy fantasy read. So yeah, this is definitely on my TBR, and I feel like middle school me will be really happy that I finally read this. Next up, I talked about this book in my, gosh, what video was that? My mid-year tag. One of the questions was most beautiful book that you own, and I said this one because again, guys, look at that gold, like, I don't even know, the gold, whatever that's called on the cover. But this is The Fellowship of the Ring by J.R.R. Tolkien. This is a very famous, you've heard of it, you know what this is, very famous fantasy series. I've read The Hobbit already, and I recently watched all of the Lord of the Rings films, and my best friend, she gifted this to me and was like, you would love it. So, but she also said to read it in the fall, because I guess a lot of the first book takes place during the fall, and she said it gave her really good like fall energy and vibes. So that's my plan with this book. There's a reason I haven't read this. So yeah, that is The Fellowship of the Ring, and you guys need to hold me to it. Tell me to read that in the fall, because I feel like I do actually really need to get into that world eventually. I feel like we're making good time, everybody. This is good. I've noticed in some of my other videos, I'll literally just like talk and talk and talk. And maybe I'm still doing that, but I'm trying to be expedient. The next book that I have is The Hating Game by Sally Thorne. This is, I think it's like an enemies to lovers story about two co-workers who don't like each other and they have to compete for the same job. I really enjoy enemies to lovers. It used to not be my favorite thing ever, but I've read it done like really well in the last like year or two, and that like definitely draws me to this book. I don't think this is one I would have gone out of my way to buy, but I found it for a really good deal at the thrift store, and I've heard really good things about it. So I do want to get to this eventually, and I think it'll be really great for the summer. I think romances are honestly perfect for the summer, and I've read very few this summer. So I'm glad that I have that. I feel like I'm gonna bring this stack closer to me. Or no, what I'll do, I'll move these over here, and then you guys can see the books again. The next book that I have on my physical TBR, I recently purchased again at this local thrift store that for some reason always has amazing books for really cheap, and then I just can't hold myself back. But the next book that I found is called Educated. This is a memoir. And this year has been the first year that I've started to dive into the whole memoir scene. I pride myself on the amount of genres that I like to read, but I hadn't really ever read a memoir, I don't think, before this year. This year I read the one that is like so popular. It's called I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jennette McCurdy. I read that this year and really enjoyed it. And then I also read My Life with Chimpanzees by Jane Goodall. If anyone doesn't know, this is my second channel. I have a main channel where I talk all about anthropology, and so humans and primates and all that kind of stuff is really interesting to me, so I did read that Jane Goodall memoir. But I saw this one, and I know that this is just like, I'll be completely honest, I don't actually know really what this one is about either, but everyone that I've heard has read this said it made a really big impact on their lives. And since I'm starting to get into the memoir game and it was on sale, or I guess, are there sales at the thrift store? It was just a good deal. I bought it, and hopefully I'll get to this somewhat soon. We're getting down to the end, everybody. Okay, so remember when I said that I got this at the thrift store? Well, it wasn't the only one that I bought, because they also had the first book in the Inheritance Games trilogy. I was gonna say everybody was reading this, but I feel like this is just constantly on the radar for some reason. So many people love this series. It's about this girl. She ends up being placed in like this mega millionaire billionaire's will, and she doesn't know him at all. And the only stipulation that she has to like getting all his money is she has to live in his house for a year, I think. And then there's like the family, I think, of this rich guy is really pissed that they didn't get any of the money. And there's like trap doors and secret rooms and like mystical things like that. And so I've just heard such good things about this, and every time I do go looking for it, I only find the second and the third book. So when I found the first book in the series, it was too good of an opportunity to pass up. And I do want to read this, but I don't think I'm going to let myself start it until I finish ACOTAR, because that would just be another series that I've started and then don't have the rest of the books for. So yeah, that's the Inheritance Games. Jennifer Lynn Barnes. I think she has another series that she wrote that's going around right now that I'm also a little bit curious about. But yeah, that can be another TBR video in the future. Guys, this book I'm so excited about. Oh my God, you guys have no idea. This is Once Upon a Broken Heart, Stephanie Garber. I've never heard someone say that they don't love this book. And I've also never heard someone say that the ending of the second book in the series didn't mess them up somehow. So I really want to read this trilogy. But I've intentionally waited because the third book is coming out this year, so I will be prepared. This series it's a fantasy world. Apparently it's a very like once upon a time old fairy tale energy. And my understanding is it's about this girl named Evangeline who, I think she's in love with somebody and he is engaged to someone else. And so in order to remedy that somehow, she makes a deal with the Prince of Hearts, I think. And then she like owes him 3 kisses and he gets to choose like when, where, and who or something like that, I think. I don't know. I've heard people again talk about this so much and it just sounds like something I would eat up. And I've also heard that I think his name is Jax. The guy in this series I've also heard is Chef's Kiss. So yeah, I think out of everything here, this is my most recent purchase and also the one I'm the most excited about, but I'm gonna hold off because I have some things to get through before starting this. I think I've talked about this book in pretty much every single video on my channel so far, or most of them, and that is The House on the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune. I found this at a thrift store in pristine condition. It's beautiful, and every time I like go to the bookstore, like the actual bookstore, this is the book that I want to buy. This is in my July TBR video. I really want to read it this month, but A Court of Wings and Ruin is taking me a while to get through, so we'll see if I get to this. But this is about an old man who works for the Department of Magical Youth named Linus Baker. Wow, apparently I haven't even read this, but I've talked about it so many times that now I know that. And he gets shipped off to this island, I think, or like goes to this island to check on these magical children who are like maybe too dangerous, I think. And people love this book. I actually just checked out the audiobook from my library, so maybe I'll be diving into this sooner than I think. I do like to go back and forth between audiobook and physical books depending on like what I'm doing and what I have time for. So yeah, House on the Cerulean Sea, that's embarrassing. The House in the Cerulean Sea. Let me know if you've read this. I'm really excited about that one. I have 2 more books left. This is so exciting. Wow. See, I don't understand. How do people talk about their like 100 book long TBR? I've been sitting here for a while now and I'm not even talking about that many books. So we're going to try to quickly get through these guys. The first one that I have is Anxious People by Friedrich Bachmann. This was also in my July TBR video. So it's going to come down to one of these 2 probably before the month ends. Maybe you guys can comment down below which one you think I should read next. But this book is about, it's really quirky. And I honestly don't know that much about it, but I think it's about this, like, I think this guy, like, takes a bunch of people captive from like a real estate event or something. Oh, there's nothing on the back to help me out. I honestly don't know, but it's like a quirky little crime story and people love the author. So that is Anxious People by Friedrich Bachmann. I've had this one for a little while now. I do want to read it. This is new. I haven't talked about this on my channel before. This is Verity by Colleen Hoover. This is one of her few or only thrillers. I'm not sure, but my boyfriend's roommate, she loved this book, loved it. And she was basically texting me about it and was like, you should totally read it. So I'm borrowing her copy and I'm really, really excited to get into this. I already know that Colleen Hoover's writing is addicting. And I think this has to do with someone, like an author passes away and the main girl of this book goes and tries to finish the story that the author already started, I think. And for some reason that is creepy or scary or something, and it's a thriller. So this was lent to me. This will probably get read sooner than later too because I'm borrowing it and want to get it back to her. So yeah, those were all the books, guys. This is so exciting. Again, I don't know how booktubers talk about all their hundreds of books that they have and then make the videos a manageable length of time. I think I'm not actually going to try to pick them up, but you can see them all right there. I am really, really excited to get into all these books. Again, I've never even owned in my life this many books before that I haven't read yet. So I'm not like going on a book buying ban, but I'm going to try really hard not to buy any books so I can make my way through this TBR. So I think that's all from me this week. I've actually had a pretty long work day and the sun is starting to go down, but I did want to just film this video. And yeah, I hope you guys are having a fantastic day and a fantastic reading month. And I will see you guys when I see you. Okay, bye.